My name is Matthew Turgeon. I'll be presenting a workshop for the MH elementary teachers tomorrow. So odds are you're watching this in preparation for that. But consider this a resource that you can look at any time to get an overview of Easiteach. In particular, I wanted you to know that the goal tomorrow is going to be to design lessons. I like it to be a lot more interactive, a lot more creative. I'd like to consider myself to be more of a facilitator and less of a presenter tomorrow. And I think it would be great if you felt confident enough that you designed some slides that you could use the very next day, or at least very, very soon. Feel free to pause me at any time. I won't be offended. Or you can rewind. I won't even be offended if you decide to fast forward. I'm going to go through the toolbars, and you can see an overview here of the plan. But I think I'll break these down into individual videos. So this, for example, this introductory one would go through the main toolbar, the Easiteach main toolbar. But keep in mind that we're not going to look at every feature. That would be overwhelming. And also keep in mind that be patient with some of the introductory stuff with regard to Easiteach skills, because you're going to want to change what you see. Even if you take a ready-made slide that some other teacher made, odds are you're going to want to make some adaptations to that, and so you should have some basic working knowledge so you can do that. That being said, that basic working knowledge will come through practice and experience like it did for me. But I can endorse Easiteach as a really great resource that I use all the time. So let's get into it. This is the Easiteach. I consider it the main toolbar, and you can see that it expands to include other features. I'm going to go through the main elements that I think are most useful from that. And what I did was I just X'd it out so you can see that if you ever want it back, you can go here, or you can go down to toolbars and you can choose Easiteach. Not Easiteach Starter. No. Choose Easiteach. This main button is the Use tool, and the Use tool is generally used for more interactive stuff when you want to grab something and move it, but not necessarily edit it. That's usually a Use button type of deal, and I'll show you another example where I'm using Use tool. I'll explain what I just did a second ago, but here's something where you might use Use tool. You can see that as I mouse over these are actual links. This is only an example, so the actual slides that they link to are from another presentation, but you can see as I mouse over that links to something. As I mouse over this one, it doesn't link because I didn't have a link to that one. Okay, but that is actually a link. It thinks it knows where to go. Oh, actually, yeah, this one does have a link, and then I linked back. What I'm doing is showing you Use tool and how this is an example of where you would use that. And that'll come up in other toolbars when you create something that you want to sort of play the presentation. That's a Use tool thing. Edit is where I am 90% of the time. When I want to select something, I use the Edit tool. You can see that what I'm doing is kind of like I call this lassoing. This is lassoing. You start away from the object, you click and drag, and you go get it. Click and drag and go get it. Click and drag and go get it. You can select multiple objects. And you may be wondering why I'm not selecting this stuff on the background. I've locked that to the background, and I'll explain how to do that a little later. But this is the Use tool, but it also has a T next to it. And the reason it has a T next to it is very simple. I can start typing now. Anywhere I click, I'm typing. And those become objects that I can move around. I can move them, I can resize them, I can rotate them. And I found incidentally that the Use tool appears to rotate much more smoothly and with smaller gradations. These are meaningless words. I was just typing random things. Okay, so I can move, resize, etc. I can move things around with the Use tool. You notice that when I'm in the Use tool, I'm less like, it's a little easier to move things around, but That's up to you. And you can see how I can select multiple things with this. Now, I don't really use these much. What I use all the time is this drawing tool. You can write, obviously, in Easiteach. And what you just wrote, you can go to use, you can go to the edit tool, and I can grab that, and now that's an object that I can move around, or I can rotate, or I can resize. I believe I can make it so I can lock that aspect ratio as well to preserve the shape. But there are other drawing tools in here as well. Arrows. I know some of you are wondering, how do I change the color, and I'll show you how to do that. This is like I'm clicking to various positions, and then when I finally double click, it ends and I've drawn a shape, which I can then go back and tweak. See how I'm just grabbing these squares. It allows you to tweak, create curves and stuff. I'm going fast, but again, you can pause me. I use line all the time. I'm just clicking, making lines. This is getting messy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight a bunch of this stuff. In fact, I'm highlighting all of it. I'm going to grab it, drag it down, and throw it in the trash. You can make things speak, so watch. I can go over here and I can speak words or speak paragraphs. This is on speak paragraph and this is on speak words. So if I clicked on that tool, now the mouth shows up.
Out.
And it just said out fairly fast.
Speaking.
And it just said speaking. This is set to record so that you're not necessarily hearing that, but it actually spoke, and you'll see that if you try that yourself. It can speak the whole paragraph.
Speaking out loud.
You might have heard that. To me, it's blasting through my speaker. You've got shapes. Rectangle. Again, you're wondering how to change the colors, and I'll be getting to that. What I usually do is I highlight things and I hit the delete key. This is very useful. You click on this and you may be wondering, well, how do I get these shapes out? There's a lot of this in Easiteach, a lot of grabbing and dragging out. So I'm grabbing this and I'm dragging it out. And then of course I can edit these. Change the shapes, rotate them, etc. This is a fill thing. I almost never use that. I usually use fill color and line color. So let me show you how to change attributes. I'll do it with the text. First of all, I'll make it really big. I can hit Control B to make it bold, but if you don't remember that, which you can always remember, and I'm going to jump a little bit out of order, but this is really useful. This is effects. This is really useful. Effects. I'm going to go to color, and I can change the color. Obviously, I can go to more colors if I want a subtle gradation of that color. I can change the font. I can change the spacing if that were applicable. If this were a list, I could add bullets here. You can add voice. You can decide what the volume and speed would be if you speak that. If you use this speaking, that will tell you what the volume and speak would be. You can add a shadow effect to it. You can add a frame to it. I don't like frame. It doesn't tend to stay with it. Change the height. I'm not sure what aspect is. Bold, italicize, etc. You get the idea. All those are under effects. What I also like to do often is text. I just change through here. And believe it or not, you can't change the text color through this. That's appropriate for changing stuff like straight lines. Or I'm usually, when I'm writing, I'm usually on freehand line. So if I select both of these, I can now change their color. I can also go to effects for these. I can change them to dotted lines. I can change the thickness of the lines. I can customize the thickness of the lines. Make them really, really thick, really, really thin. That's as thin as it'll go. can change the line color to any color I want, essentially. Add shadows to that if I wish. Effects are very important. You're going to find yourself doing that a lot, so remember effects down there. Undo is one of my favorites. I can just undo a change that I've made or redo a change that I made, and I'm clicking undo a lot right here, and you can see it's just cycling back through everything I've done, which is great. You will find yourself undoing a lot as you're learning. I don't use zoom in and zoom out a lot. I do use cut and paste a lot. I can cut and then I can paste that. Again, I just highlight it and then I can copy that and paste that. You'll use that a lot. So I'd like to show you here is, let's say you want to associate two objects. It could be any two objects. I have this thing I've drawn, and I want to link these two objects. I want them to be one object. You highlight what you want to link, and look over here. This is grouping, so I've grouped those, and now these are one object. Now I could copy that, paste that. It's its own object now. That's really useful. Just anything you want to group, you can group together like that. Voting and polling, I don't do much with. If you guys are curious, I can talk to you about that. I'm calling that the end of this video regarding the main Easiteach toolbar.